Hello and welcome to today's RV chat. And now what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the difference between cars and vans, because this is an issue, and I've noticed it often comes up and people write in comments, that's not a car, it's a van, and things like that. Now what I'm going to try and do is to define what is what as best I can, and as a word of warning, I studied linguistics at university, so I can actually possibly when I was at university, I could write an entire art essay on the meaning of a word. Now, I'll give you an example here. I've got a mug. Right. Mug. But what's this? It's got a spoon in it. What's that? Is it a mug or a cup? And one of the things we did when I was at university was that we had to decide the difference between when a cup became a mug. And we did this as an exercise, everybody together, and then we decided, we'd see how some people interpreted what a mug was and what a cup was, because the interpretation very much changes, as it does with colours, for example. But anyway, let's get straight on to the point. And what I'm going to do is to take the example of taxation, because this possibly is what is most important. Now, most people think they know what a car is and what a van is, and so let's have a look at what the rules are. Now, I've made some notes which I'm going to sort of refer to as I speak. Now, as far as VAT is concerned, a business can actually cover the VAT on a van, but not a car. And now, government policy, I think this is in fact it's EU policy, prevents such a claim on a car. And not only that, but also restricts VAT on car leasing, so costs, as well as the use of fuel or private fuel, and any money which is recuperated on the resale of the car. Now, for as far as income tax is concerned, the van is determined on a flat rate, whereas for cars it's based on a combination of CO2 output and list price, whatever they determine the list price to be. So van drivers are clearly treated far more favourably than car drivers when it comes to fuel benefit charge for private mileage. So, it is quite important, therefore, to actually see the difference between a car and a van. Now, as a definition of a car, according to the HM Revenue and Customs, on their 1992 value-added tax cars order, a car is the following: it's constructed, adapted solely or mainly for the carriage of passengers, and has to the rear of the driver's seat roofed accommodation which is fitted with side windows, or which is constructed or adapted for the fitting of side windows. Now, it's a hard one, isn't it, really? Because often what we would normally think of vans clearly do have the possibility of putting windows in the side. Now, if it's a van, its main purpose must be carrying goods around, and it must have a significant payload, and that payload is in general around 1 ton. But of course this is going to be very difficult to determine. But there is one example that you could use. It could be even, you can get these long cars. Now, when I was a child, I had this sort of, it was only a little model thing, but you had a sliding roof on it as well, I remember. But there's a really long thing it had, and I don't know, it was an American car, but that would not have been acceptable, like a Volvo Estate or something like that, which is sort of long. That is still clearly a car because it's got windows, and even though it would be used for carrying stacks of stuff around with. What about the exceptions? Now, a van could be, for example, if you're carrying people around and you've got seats for at least 12 people, that then becomes a van. Another thing is if a vehicle has an unladen weight over 3 tons, and if it's an ambulance or maybe a closed van such as the police use, or indeed a motorhome. But it must be made out inside clearly for the use within business circumstances. So it could be that a business has bought the van with a purpose of using it to go to trade fairs or things like that, and it must have areas to work in. Now, clearly, we're at now a stage where it's interpretation of the law. Now, what about a pickup? These are sort of these American things. We sometimes put these camping units on the top. If the camping unit, the pod, was on top and it was fixed on top, it might be easier to claim that that was a van rather than a car. Now, there is a payload, which is if the stated payload was over a ton, then you might get away with it. It should be. If you're putting one of these camping pods on the top, those camping pods are pretty heavy in themselves. So, I don't know what the Mercedes X-Class, for example, which I filmed recently and which I did a little RV chat on, is that a van or a car? So that's a hard one. So the tax authorities in the UK do have actually a list of car-derived vans, but there are things which are outside that, which, you know, and it's to be understood because there's huge amounts of vehicles, and the fact that a car can hold a ton of payload, a vehicle I should say, and that may not actually be enough. Now, a final thing I really want to say is that I can often use the word car when I really mean van. Now, at times, for example, when I did a camper van chat on the subject of the Colibri from Carmen Mobile, I used the word car there deliberately. And so I was there trying to be maybe a little bit more controversial. Of course, it's based on the Renault traffic. Now, but at other times, though, I can say the word car because this is now in dialect. I'm using the word car to refer to all vehicles, or nearly all vehicles, except for lorries and buses. So that is why. Not only that, I've noticed many of my German friends, for example, and we've got interviews with German people, and they refer to really big, luxurious motorhomes as cars. And this comes probably more from a translation of the German word Fahrzeug rather than anything else. Whether or not the word car in standard English can be used as a generic term is something different. But so, I think as far as my videos are concerned, if I refer to the word car, unless it's a slip, because sometimes I'll be going to a motorhome and I can say the word car, just like that, I think I'm referring to something which I believe to be a car, and not to have a great deal of application as a camper van, or it has certainly just the application for offering a weekend sleeping, but no more. And I think even the company Heimer actually goes along with this way of thinking, because they have the Heimer car. Otherwise, it's not. Right, now, that I've given you a interpretation as far as taxation is concerned. If you find yourself in front of a tribunal, don't use this as evidence, because it's not. I'm just trying to give a quick and easy chat, and I'm no expert, I don't know, and so don't take that or this for anything other than entertainment purposes. Thank you.